Greetings folks, I'm Ronwise Gamgee and welcome to Quick and Dirty Roleplaying. In this video, I'll talk about my experiences and thoughts on what I'd like to call administrative adventure design. To start off, I really like the adventure design for R.B. Bow's The Count, the Castle, and the Curse. It has a clear objective, escape from the castle before midnight. The intro style of last night, hours ago, moments ago, puts things into perspective in a relatable and personal manner. This is what happened recently, and this is how you're involved. Last and certainly not least, the point crawl, point and click nature of the adventure makes it so that I can inform the players of all the relevant details of the room they're in, while providing them the ability to investigate further and explore other areas of the castle, all while incorporating a thematically appropriate and interesting random encounter table. So far, this has been a shining example as to what administrative adventure design looks like. As much as I'd like to apply this adventure design approach to all of my adventures, I don't think it's suited to every scenario. First off, the time limit is based on real-world time, and the consequences for failing to achieve the objective within the allotted time limit is a total party kill. While this works very well for creating tension, the stakes aren't always going to be succeed or TPK. An alternate approach to the real world time limit that would allow for the adventure to be played more to the player's pace would be to employ turns throughout and have a turn limit, or else the PCs fail and bad stuff happens. As far as things happening apart from the PC's involvement is concerned, I suppose a random encounter table can be adapted in a way so that whenever the PC changes scenes, or whenever a certain number of turns pass, either predetermined or randomly rolled, roll on the random table to generate an event. These events can be structured iteratively, like in the Castle, the Count, and the Curse, so that if an event gets rolled multiple times, the next phase in the sequence of said event chain occurs, ever escalating that event chain until it reaches its conclusion. When it comes to NPC interactions, this is probably one of the areas where, in my experience, the Castle, the Count, and the Curse fell shortest, as it provided, in my opinion, scant details about NPC behavior and motivations. So I roleplayed them in a pretty one-dimensional manner, if I managed to even remember them at all. Honestly, the experience of being ripped out of the certainty of simply reading what the text said in response to a PC's actions and being placed into the uncharted territory of role-playing the NPCs in that adventure was incredibly jarring, since the differences in both modes are in such contrast to each other. I understand that kind of NPC design was necessary in order to maintain the one page per room format, and as long as the PCs were interacting with the NPC, their presence was felt. But when they weren't interacting with them and focused on their mission, that NPC may as well have disappeared for all intents and purposes, because unless they served a specific purpose or were an enemy, they were an unwelcome distraction to me. This is not something that I would want to replicate in adventure design, however, as NPCs have incredible potential to enrich the experience of the adventure. One thought that comes to mind, however, when incorporating NPCs in a non-combative capacity is, how do I make it so that the PCs don't attempt to use them as a way to shortcut the adventure by solving all their problems? In the moment, and without reading ahead of time, because I didn't design the NPC, that's hard to do. Geez, hold on a second. Let me go back, because I kind of read that part wrong in the script. In the moment, and without reading ahead of time, which is how I prefer to run Polish adventures, that's hard to do, because I didn't design the NPC. However, the correct answer to this question is to stick to their motivations, agenda, the limits of their capabilities, and their humanity, or lack thereof. This is also an area where I think employing Fate's aspects would be incredibly helpful as a way to bullet point what to focus on when role-playing that NPC. Having said all that, I'd like to bring up DM Scotty's Book of Quests, because my impression is that each of these quests is designed in a sort of unassembled manner. There are these general elements like scenario location, major NPCs and their motivations, NPCs' speech snippets, significant events, monsters, and also a random table of just things happening that are just tossed at the rabble-rouser, the GM for this game, with a here are all the pertinent pieces, make it work approach. It's not what I would want out of a published adventure module. To me, it's just a set of collections of ideas, each adventure being the collection of ideas. I don't want to have to read through the entire adventure and figure out how to piece it together before the game begins. When it comes to published adventures, I want to be an administrator of the adventure, which is meant to take off a vast amount of cognitive load from me as I simply present what the players engage with, rather than having to generate content on the fly, which disrupts the pacing of the adventure and feels very off-putting to me when I have to switch from administrator mode to GM mode. So my ideal for published adventure design, in my opinion, would be so that the person running the adventure can administer it to the players, while avoiding railroading, or at the very least sticking to one railroad, while avoiding railroading the PCs in both where they can go and how they can achieve their objectives, i.e. respecting player agency. I also don't want to pad an adventure with mandatory combat scenes just to stretch out the length of the adventure or the session. In general, combat should be a consequence of failed plans or antisocial behavior. Besides the Count, the Castle, and the Curse, another game that has adventure design that I'd like to emulate is Mansions of Madness. There's always a turn order, and after everyone takes their turn, the world has its own turn in the Mythos phase, which gets progressively more punishing the longer the scenario goes on. It also has that point-and-click element to it with regards to engaging with relevant details, and while the game has visual elements, it can be easily substituted with a text description point crawl. I just wish there was some way to see how the adventure is designed behind the curtain, so to speak, since the scenarios are administered by a program rather than by a human. I'm also aware of the various Quarter Shots productions by Deck and Dice Games, though I just haven't gotten around to checking them out yet. At $20 a pop, it's kind of yeesh for me at the moment. If you're aware of any published adventures that are within the realm of the criteria that I've mentioned, I'd greatly appreciate it if you'd share them with me. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to leave a comment, please keep it respectful and relevant. Last but not least, take care and play to find out what happens.